You ever listen to Arabic and wonder how they say things like my car or your house so fast? It's like there are no extra words. Well, today we're going to crack that code. We're diving deep into one of the coolest, most useful parts of Arabic grammar, attached pronouns. So in English, it's pretty simple, right? We just use separate words. My book, his house, our team. But Arabic, it's got this incredibly elegant, super efficient way of doing it. Let's jump in and see how it all works. Okay, so the official fancy grammar term for this is Zamair Mutasila Majroora. Whoa, right? I know, it sounds like a real mouthful, but stick with me, I promise. Once we break this down piece by piece, you'll see it's actually super logical. The name itself tells you exactly what's going on. So what does that long name actually mean? It's simple, really. We're talking about pronouns that literally get glued onto the end of a noun to show possession. To show who it belongs to. And that last part, the genitive case, don't let that scare you. It's just the grammar nerd way of saying it's showing ownership, kind of like when we add an apostrophe S in English. And this is the cool part. Look at this. The name itself is the definition. Zamair, that just means pronouns. Mutasila, that means attached or joined. And Majroora, that means they're possessive. So you put it all together and what do you get? Attached possessive pronouns. See? The name literally tells you everything you need to know. How cool is that? All right, so we've cracked the name. Now for the fun part. Let's actually meet these pronouns and see how they work in the wild. This is really where the magic happens. The basic idea couldn't be simpler. Seriously, it's just noun plus pronoun equals position. You take a word like book or house, and you just stick the little pronoun suffix right onto the end. It becomes one single word, no spaces, no extra stuff, just boom, done. And this table just lays it all out perfectly. Let's use the word for book, which is kitab. So if you want to say his book, you add hu at the end, Kitabu-hu. Simple. Her book, add ha, Kitabu-ha. Now check this out. Your is different from masculine and feminine. For a guy, you'd say kitabu-ka. For a woman, kitabu-ki. And for my book, it's kitabi. Our book is kitabu-na. It's just so systematic, so clean. Okay, so the basic concept is pretty straightforward, right? But to really level up your understanding, there are two little rules you absolutely need to know. They're not hard, and they're all about making the words sound smooth and natural. So let's dive in to the first one. Rule number 1 is all about the pronoun for my, which is called the ya mutakallim. Now, this little letter, it's powerful. It has a very specific effect on whatever noun it joins. You could almost say it's a bit of a diva. It demands things go its way. And here's what it does. This is the key. No matter what vowel is on the last letter of the noun, the ya mutakallim forces it to change to a kasra. That's that short I sound. So a word like kitabi, with a U sound at the end, becomes kitabi. Beitun becomes beiti. It's all about making it sound right, It creates this phonetic harmony that just makes it roll off the tongue. All right, on to rule number 2. This one's about the pronoun for his, the letter ha. And unlike the ya we just talked about, this pronoun is more like a chameleon. It adapts. It actually changes its own vowel sound depending on what came right before it. The rule is actually really simple. You just look at the vowel on the letter right before the ha. If that vowel is an a sound, a fatha, or a u sound, a dhamma, then the pronoun becomes hu, so Kitabu-hu. But if the vowel before it is an I sound, a kasra, or even a silent y, then the pronoun changes to he, like beitihi. See how it adapts? Again, it's all about that smooth, natural flow. So this isn't just some dry, boring grammar lesson, I promise. These attached pronouns are literally everywhere in Arabic, and you see them all the time in the Quran. Looking at them in real examples, in context, that's where you really see how powerful they are. Just take a look at this verse. You've got Rabbi, which means my Lord. See it? That's rule number 1, right there in action. The ya for my forces the letter before it to take that E sound. And right after it, you see Rabbukum, your Lord. That's just a standard attachment. It's all there, in one line. Here's another fantastic example. The word for father is abun. So to say our father, you just attach that na pronoun and you get abuna. It's a perfect, straightforward example of how the plural R works. And let's do one more just to really hammer home that first rule because it's so important. The word for earth is ard. So when the verse says, my earth, that ya gets attached. And what happens? You guessed it. The letter right before it gets forced into that I sound. So we get ardi. It's a super consistent rule and it's absolutely crucial. Okay, so we've broken down the name, we've met the pronouns, we've even seen them out in the wild in the Quran. But let's just step back for a second. Why does all this matter? Why is getting this concept down so important if you're learning Arabic? Well, first off, it makes your Arabic just so much more efficient and fluid. This is the fundamental way to show possession, so you pretty much can't read or speak without it. And for understanding the Quran, it's non-negotiable. Honestly, when you finally get a solid handle on these pronouns, it's one of those moments where you feel like you've really leveled up, like you're moving from a beginner to a true intermediate student of the language. So there you have it. The secret's out. Possession in Arabic isn't about adding extra words. It's about attaching these clever little suffixes. Now that you know what to look for, those tiny endings like hu, ha, ka, I have a question for you. How is this going to change the way you read the very next Arabic text you pick up? Because you now have a brand new key to unlock a whole other layer of meaning.